Hi, everyone. Welcome to the REN podcast. Here today with me is Barry Jenkins from Ylopo, and also he owns his own real estate company of, I'm going to say close to what?
800, 900 homes a year.
Wow, that's insane. And then also we have Isaiah Colton today with Real Estate Nexus, and we're going to be talking about the importance of database management and lead follow-up. So welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. We were just talking about how fat we are and how we are doing everything that we can to get in shape. So it was great. It was a great conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-podcast.
I feel really good about myself.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, we're Barry. Thanks for coming on today's podcast. We're really excited to have you. And we know you got a ton of exciting things going on between what you're doing with Ylopo and how you're helping advance the real estate community within Ylopo and even just the real estate community as a whole. And you just had a book come out, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, I'd like to just start off the podcast before we dive into today's topic of database marketing and developing a lead follow-up system. I'd like to know what inspired that book, because it's a unique book. There's some uniqueness to it. So tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired it. Yeah.
You know, as I say in the book, I got a D in high school in English. Nobody in their right mind thought that Barry Jenkins would ever write anything. And come to find out, that gave me a very conversational tone when I wrote the book. It's written how I speak. And, over the last 10 years, I have been forced, because of a change in the way leads are generated, Zillow, Realtor.com, I had to figure out a way to create opportunity with people that didn't know what they wanted yet. You know, the leads that say, I'm just browsing, basically. And I also, my ethics, my morals, my faith are really an important part of who I am. And so on the one hand, I learned how to convert those leads by creating false urgency and doing all kinds of shady things to try to get the sale. And I kind of had this collision moment where I had to make a decision on which route I was going to take. Anyway, the result is the book. And it's the last 10 years of my life. It's how I've learned to talk to people that don't know what they want yet, and therefore don't think they need an agent yet. And it's taking different experiences that I've had, and each chapter has a different story and how it relates to the sales process. So the title of the book is Too Nice for Sales, because I was told a decade ago that I was too nice. And the subtitle, it's a practical guide to ethical lead conversion. So it's the feedback's been phenomenal. Why I wrote it, I taught Ylopo users for like 5 or 6 years. And every time I would teach a team, they would all get really excited and say, I've never heard this before. And eventually I just decided that I wanted to help more agents. As you know, there's not really any money in selling books to people. And it really was a labor of love. So hopefully folks get something out of it.
Yeah, I think the book really speaks to an audience that is largely uncatered to. If you
don't have any money.
Yeah. well, no, I mean, I think there's an audience there like that. I think a lot of us as sales professionals, as entrepreneurs, we've gone through that in some way, shape, or form. And some of us thought it was just normal and decided to just live with it, because like, oh, what am I going to do about this problem of, integrity-based selling or whatever, ethical approach to influence, and so I personally can relate to that, because I was a VP of sales of a sales and marketing company, online marketing company, and it was a great learning experience. We'll never take it back, but just how the sales came in was not good. It was just it was just not good. And when you're making a lot of money, it's easy to, it's okay, you just look the other way. But there reaches a point in our lives that we have to have this real talk.
Yeah.
To say, like, are we doing what are we doing? Are we just doing something for the money, or is there something deeper? Or is there something that has more purpose to it? And that was a tough decision for me to walk away from that job. And that's one of the reasons why I started my own company, because I wanted to I wanted to say, you know what, there's got to be a better way to do things with integrity, have a mission to it, and still be able to be wildly successful. You know,
well, yeah, that's actually what's crazy. If you put me next to your typical hardcore closer that could care less about the person, give them the same list as me all day long, I'm going to outsell them because anybody who's hoping to buy in the near future needs what I've got. They need to know what I know.
right.
And I'm going to be passionate about trying to help them to do it. And you can't beat that. And so like nice people listen, you need to listen to me. When the person says, I don't know what I want, you're focused on yourself. You're like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I'm bothering. And so we think somehow that's being nice. Actually, you're being selfish. What would be nice is to say, I hear you. I understand you don't want to talk to me. Here's why you need to listen to me. Right? Like that, we need that. Right. And so there's like this whole group of nice people that aren't selling anything. And they honestly would do a better job by the client. And so, yeah.
They almost have, if they know, if they have the right mindset and the right talk track and the right training, if I'm hearing you right, and this has been my experience too, they can actually serve the client more effectively, get their point across more effectively, because they're not going to piss them off in the process, and also do it with integrity. I mean, that's, you know, to me, that's a winning formula, right? So,
and this ties into our topic, because when you combine that with database marketing, you know, you're in New York, forget about it, right? That's what you're
that's right. That's right.
I was just going to say that people in the South are completely different than people in the North.
Yeah.
If you try to like come off as you're trying to help them in the North,
very skeptical.
It's very skeptical. Yes. In the South, they're like, oh, honey, what do you want? I'm willing to talk your ear off, you know?
Right. And there's an art to that too, though. Like, because of what you said, one of the ways that we talk about the mortgage process is we don't ask them, are you pre-approved? We don't tell them, hey, I got a guy, because they don't trust me. I ask them, you got a guy. Let me tell you why I'm asking. Like, I'm asking them a question that gains trust. That's right. And I don't care what their answer is, because I'm about to go launch into a whole thing about why. Anyway, I could go down this whole rabbit hole, but that's,
no, I like that though. That's very insightful.
Well, yeah, and that just goes back to the training. It's when you know that, and that was the misconception that I had, is that, okay, well, this is just how it's got to be. It's not true. If you know what to say, you know how to say, you know, the right questions to ask. And that's what I'm excited about your book, because I think it's getting information, it's getting a message out there that not only the whole industry of sales needs. So I'm really excited about. How do people pick up your book, by the way?
You can just go to tooniceforsales.com. Surprisingly, I thought of a domain that no one else has thought of. That's never happened before. So I was really pumped about that. Let me just say, it's not like .io or it's .com. Like, I got a .com.
Wow, it's impressive.
But yeah,
that's very impressive.
Yeah, you can buy the book there. And it's on Amazon, it's on Audible. Yeah, it's on all the regular places, Barnes and Nobles, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that anyone that is interested in a different way of selling, that is a better way, you need to go get that book. They go get the book. So I'm excited about some of our up and coming things we're going to be doing to help promote the book, and you know, the events that we're going to be doing together. And I'm just really excited to get the message out there, because it was a big pivotal moment for me. I just never wrote about it, and you did. So I'm going to just promote your stuff. So
well, you guys sold me. I want to go buy the book. I'm intrigued.
Funny enough, I gave a copy to my mom. You know, it's my mom. You know, and she's read like half of it. I was like, Mom, you're not in sales. What are you doing? I don't read your book. So
that's awesome.
You're like, only half?
Well, you know, it's a good book if your mom.
Aren't I your favorite?
So, all right. So first question, and this is like you mentioned, the two topics are very related when it comes to database marketing and lead follow-up. I'd like to just throw a question out there. Why should somebody be paying attention to what they're doing in their database in 2022?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is Zillow and Realtor.com pretty much made up the bulk of online lead gen for real estate agents for the last decade. They created a demand for a type of conversation, which was centered around the person finding a house. That's been the last decade. Well, as these businesses, and I don't have any hate for them, they're changing their business model. They know they can make more off of commission than they can selling me leads. And so if you don't learn how to manage a database, what's going to happen is you're going to get squeezed out of the market because you've been depending on new opportunities to scale your business. And look, there's still there's still leads, right? There's still Google and Facebook, but those are different kinds of leads. What database marketing does is it allows you to operate independently of what everybody else is doing. Because I have my little universe, and in this little universe, I'm relevant to all these people. And if my marketing is doing what it's supposed to be doing, when they engage and start to surface back to the top, nobody else is talking to them, but I just saw they saved a home on 123 Smith Street. Guess who gets to talk to them first? This is not a question of should someone do this. This is, if you want to sell a lot of homes in 5 to 10 years, it's just the way that it's going to have to be. This is how you'll have to do it. It's either that or you just know a lot of people,
right. You have a big network, or you have a big network or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
The next question I have related to the database and lead follow-up. One of the things that we talk a lot about is relationship. And I think you guys do a really good job in your community teaching about this, in my opinion. Because I think one of the struggles is when you're generating leads, you forget that they're actually real people. So how do you humanize the database marketing and follow-up process so that, or like, what should the mindset be around that for an agent?
Stop being selfish, right? As an agent, I want people that want to buy, and I even want more people that want to sell.
Right.
And if I'm selfish, I'm going to make my marketing about what I want. How can I get that lead that's ready to go right now? And so all my marketing is centered around that concept. The problem is with a database, they're going to find a way to ignore me because that's really annoying if the messaging is off kilter. But if you can have automated systems that consistently add value to the person on the other end of the screen, you're always going to be relevant and you'll be a part of the conversation when the person is ready to transact. And the cool thing about this is you can do this. You can actually automate more with this approach than you can by trying to be super targeted to like a specific scenario. Like, hey, I saw you checked your home value, and you make it all about that. With this, I don't have to know what I said to them before. It's like a Seinfeld episode. Like, I don't need to know what the episode before was to make sense of the current Seinfeld episode. Right. That's how value-based marketing is.
Right.
They don't have to tie together because it's just it's all valuable.
So would you say like a common mistake you see is not leading with value, if I'm hearing you right? Like,
yeah. And I say that in like, that is not an unusual term, value-based marketing. Like that's, oh yeah, I come from value. You're still being selfish though. Like if you actually think about what you're doing from the eyes of the person receiving it, like flip it around. You ran an ad for something, they click it and they land on something that's totally different than what the ad was. That's not valuable,
That's confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
And all I see is damn virus.
Right away, right? So,
but being a passionate teacher, like if you take on the role of a passionate, really focused teacher, and just think about it that way, it works really well. Actually so I've got 150,000 people in my CRM. So that's a big ecosystem. Yep. Before I did that, my Facebook page was my ecosystem, my personal, regular, not even running ads on a business page. And I would just mix it up into 3 tiers. I would do anything that was teaching people. So an example would be interest rate at 4%, this purchase price, here's your monthly payment. Interest rate at this, it's, hey, I thought this was interesting, friends. Let me know what you think. So that's 1/3. The second part of the pie was anything about my career where it was a part of my life. So like one time I took a picture, the house had hot pink kitchen cabinets. I think that's weird. I took a picture of the cabinets and was like, this is weird. Do you guys think this is weird? Right?
70s.
I'm a realtor, but I'm having fun. It's organic, it's authentic. And then the third piece is just pieces of my life, like my children. So even back then, like a decade ago, when I was like leveraging social media, it's the same thing. It's value based, and there's different kinds of value. There's not just, here's the 3 steps to buying a home. That's one type of value, but there's others. There's entertainment value. There's just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I'm glad you brought up what you're doing 10 years ago. What's changed over the past 10 years? Let's just use that time frame with lead follow-up that's different, database management lead follow-up that's different than what it is today.
Texting is no longer the silver bullet that it was. Texting used to be the end all be all, but we screwed it up because now the cell phone providers are, it's like spam, spam filters. And so getting the consumer's attention is a lot more difficult now than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say that multiple channels of communication are more important than ever before because of that? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And when you have a large database, email marketing becomes really important.
Yeah.
Because now I can go into my CRM and say, show me every person that I have their home address that's been on my website in the last 30 days that's done this specific behavior. Like I can do that. And now I've got 1,000 people, and now I can do a full on print, text, voicemail, email, you do it in the right way to where it's not annoying, but you can really target that. That's another benefit of having one of those large databases that you can market to.
Right. Yeah. Cause I think one of the things that we struggle with is if you, especially if you're a phone guy, like I was, like I was all phone. Like if you look back in my first year in real estate, like we did 151 transactions, me and two other people, but I would say 50 of those were me prospecting on the phone for semi-owners expireds. And that was the only way I was doing it. We built a whole inside sales team around that, but then we started seeing people weren't picking up the phone the same way. And then you start getting into internet leads. Like you said, it's a different psychology, different approach. And like for myself, it was a shift to say, okay, wait, I can't just be focusing on communication by phone.
Right.
And that's where,
when did door knocking become all involved in all that? Was that before the phone?
Yeah.
We didn't really do that.
Yeah, we didn't. That was before. Yeah. I know there's some people that still did it, but I would say that was probably a little bit even before us, Barry, right? We're door knocking.
Well, California, maybe on the East Coast, like in California, they still do that.
They still do.
Do they?
Oh yeah. Oh, but like one house is like 12 houses for me over here in Virginia Beach, like versus their $1 million. So they have to work a little bit differently. But that's what I was going to say is this is not about finding one way to do things.
That's right.
Consumer behavior changes, especially after COVID. Things just shifted immediately, and standing out and being different is something you have to be aware of your climate. If you want to intentionally try to stand out, like you've got to be aware of how are they receiving information, what are they doing, and for us, one of the pivots that we recently did with communicating was having a system to where we text the prospect and call the prospect from the same number. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but it gets around those spam filters because then their phone says maybe.
Right.
And so having at scale, having an entire business shift how they communicate with the consumer, that was a fun month for me. But once we got it dialed in, we're getting steady appointments because now we have that multifaceted communication tool.
Right. And if your setup's probably very similar to ours, where you have remarketing going, right? You have follow-up text message campaigns going. Mm-hmm. You have people calling in between or in conjunction with those campaigns, right? Yep. I don't know. Are you heavy into video? Are you doing anything with video right now? Or
so I do have some MMS messages that are baked into my campaigns. Mm-hmm. And the MMS, they're native 15-second videos that teach something. So we've had really good success with that. I've also had good success with anyone that checks their home value with HomeBot. I did a 2-minute tour of HomeBot, and the script is like, hey, I saw you checked your equity. I happen to be in somebody else's report. Figured I would go through this. If you just want your home value, that's fine. But if you want this full report, text me back. So it, I don't have to do a custom video every time. That's worked really well. What I don't do is, hey, my name is Barry. I like long walks on the beach. My favorite color is blue. I've been an agent for 20 years. With middle of funnel leads, they're not hiring an agent yet. So it's just really tone deaf. Like they're not looking to hire anybody yet. And so it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's something that we've been really
Planting the seed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Something that we've really been focusing on is video prospecting. One of the things that about a year ago, as actually we have what we call a sales acceleration blueprint, where basically we just train people all the different ways to communicate with a client, to create a walled garden, so to speak, and how to use all the different channels of communication. In that process, videos is can be elusive, it can be overcomplicated, but then it also can be misused, and it won't work if you don't use it the right way. So there's this delicate balance between it all. And so we've developed good strong relationships with Business Video School. They're part of our platform. When somebody comes on with us,
is that Jeff and Tristan?
Yeah, and yes, and Nick Nias runs it. And so everyone gets a membership to Business Video School when they come on with us. But so what we wanted to lead by example. So we actually broke down, like, if you look at the sales cycle, there's anywhere between 7 to 8 different types of videos that you can do all along the sales cycle. So there's a lead generation videos that you can do. You can do lead follow-up videos. You can do overall, like, educational videos that are designed for your entire database. Just more of like a branding educational type of video. You can then do a lead conversion type of video where you've already engaged with them, maybe had a good meeting with them, and now you're using video to follow up with them instead of a generic boring text message that's like, hey, just checking in, right? Like,
check on me.
Way more personable.
Yeah. And so, like, we're and then also too, some of those frequently asked questions that we get all the time throughout the real estate process, just developing little videos for frequently asked questions, and then using them to get, and then also using videos when to help you get referrals and just to follow up after the process. And that's kind of the revelation that we've had is like, okay, the world has changed to what you're saying because of COVID, and let's not miss out on this video train, because if we don't incorporate video and other things, eventually everyone, somebody else is going to, and if we're not developing a personal relationship where people can see you, we're not going to have the same advantage. So
I agree.
Yeah, so we're working really hard on that, and
That's smart.
Yeah, we're teaching, we're teaching really heavily on that too. But I think it's a balance. There's a balance to it all too, because you can get so caught up into it. If you stop making calls, you can.
Well, I know personally, when I open up an email and it's a video email, to me, everybody loves feeling desired and special, and I'm like, ooh, they took the time to do this for me. Like,
right.
That's the biggest thing. If you're doing any communicate, what we're really we want the industry to hear loud and clear right now is, if you're doing any communication that's by text or Facebook Messenger or anything along with your clients, you better use video within that process, because you're missing out in a big way. And like, people have told me horror stories, Barry, about deals going south because what they said in their text message, because it got mistranslated, right? So like, I just think that when you're looking at your database marketing approach, I just want to encourage everybody to not just see video as a form of marketing, but a form of communication.
Right. And what are you communicating? Like just think about it.
Yeah. Right.
Because if you're like, I'm going to do video so that I can convert leads, wrong. Like that's not, nobody wants to hear you.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear you. They don't. They're not
Right.
going to watch anything.
Yep. That's so true.
So I joke TikTok a lot, but there's something to be said for those 15-second, music in the background, and you're pointing to different topics. It's valuable. It's interesting way of transferring information. So yeah, I think you guys are on the right track for sure.
Before you know it, 3 hours goes by and you've watched how many real estate?
I don't have TikTok on my phone because of
Oh, I do.
I will waste a lot of time. So I just
try to stay off of it because that's what will happen to me.
I watched a few real estate TikToks. Now my whole feed, every time I go on there, it's real estate agents doing TikTok videos. Actually, some of them are really good.
So Barry, could we outline some action steps for our audience for some things that they could do to really hone in their lead follow-up and how they could really get some of these best practices implemented in their business?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Like,
mean,
let's say somebody's starting from scratch and they're just really trying to hone in, get their database organized. What would you think a couple simple things they could do, and then what are some simple things they could implement, whether it be automation or whatever it may be? So
yeah, I mean, I think step one, I would recommend thinking through stages. So before you go and get all these contacts and put them somewhere, we decided that the stage or the status of the lead would obsessively be focused on their relation to us in the real estate buying and selling journey. So the reason why that's significant is people will make sphere a stage. Just because you're in my sphere of influence, like that doesn't relate to their journey as in real estate buying or selling. So that's where it gets really messy and your targeted marketing gets all jacked up. So what you want to do is, for us, we decided that the contact, we have a contact status and the lead source is sphere. So now I can have 1,000 people that are in the sphere of influence lead source, and out of the 1,000, 10 of them be warm and 990 of them are contact. And so now, like I can, this is all about being able to move large groups of contacts into targeted marketing at some point. And so getting that little, we have lead, which means it's unconverted, hot, warm, cold, and then contact is our trash. It's way more complicated than that, but I'm just
you're simplifying it.
Yeah. So do that. LinkedIn is, last I checked, you can still export your LinkedIn contacts. So LinkedIn gives you the ability to decide who you want to try to connect with. And I think you can send 10 connection messages a day without getting banned. If you have their upgraded thing, you probably didn't think I was going to bring up LinkedIn, but because I grew mine to 15,000.
Okay.
And then I exported it. And then I uploaded into remarketing and all that stuff. And we actually get a lot of deals from that.
It's amazing.
Because you can really focus your time on those people. You can't export your Facebook list anymore. That broke, I think 3 years ago. That used to be amazing. You could just one click export your friends list. Oh, it was great. You can't do that anymore. What I would recommend you do is, go through, if you've been in the business for a while, go into the MLS, look up your ID number, go to each closing in the MLS over the last X amount of years, grab the address and the client name, and then start searching your email for their name and their address. Get everything, and it's going to take time. So I would recommend, you break it up into 30 minutes or an hour a week. I will tell you, if you will do just the two things that I've shared, now you've got people that know you, you've got people that you're connected with relationally, and professionally through LinkedIn, people that know you in your phone book or in your phone, and then you've got your past clients. Even if you have like 500 people in all of that, if you just sold 1% of those 500 people a home, you're making a lot of money from an ROI standpoint. And so that's why, honestly, this should be very empowering for your listeners. They can actually control their destiny when you look at it this way.
Yes. And you've probably done these polls, whether it be formally or informally. We did the poll to about 1,000 of the people that are in our ecosystem, 1,000 agents. And a simple question, how, over the last 90 days, how many of your transactions were from your sphere? Mm-hmm. But yet the next question is what are you doing to stay in front of them? Right. It's amazing how off kilter those two things are. Well,
they're probably, if like my, a lot of businesses, it's almost half. If they're running a successful business, a majority is from their past clients in their sphere. And for most agents, if they're being honest, it's because they worry about it.
Right.
They're obsessively on Facebook. They see someone doing something and they're running off of fear instead of having a methodical nature to their business, which is what getting the people into your CRM. It allows you to scale your business. And what I try to do as a team owner is take what works for me at the corporate level and kind of make mini businesses out of each agent. Let's get it in there. Let's get your people in there. Let's get all your old leads in there. Let's remarket to them. And you watch it. I mean, it works. We're not selling vacuums, right? Like we're not selling pens. Everybody wants a house.
Right.
And so whether they're renting it or buying it. And so we get to just be the people that's in front of them to service that need.
Yeah. And I think that's the exciting thing about YLOPO, right? Is you have amazing tools with lead generation, but also amazing, powerful remarketing tools too. How much has that helped your process?
When I came to YLOPO, I had 5,000 leads, 6,000 leads. Now I've got 151,000, I think. Wow. And it's because, Howard, he has this presentation he's taught, I think, at 3 different events that I've been a part of, where it kind of goes through the math of database marketing and how it makes sense and the way, the way that it works. And eventually it just clicked. Yeah. And now, I was spending the price of a really nice Mercedes every month on Zillow, and I'm not anymore. And right. I've been able to make better business decisions as a result, because now I'm not giving all this money to these lead generation companies. YLOPO is a lead generation company, but it's a much more empowering organization than say Zillow, for example. And it's impacted my business in a lot of really great ways. And so
it's a very different type of lead generation because it's your branding instead of Zillow's branding.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's a very, very different experience for the client too, I would say, when they come.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. So yeah, this isn't something like, yeah, I want to do that one day. Like this needs to be mission critical. I think that in the next 3 years, there's going to be, because of the direction that these big businesses are going, I think that there's going to be a segment of real estate teams that are going to really be hamstrung and caught off guard. They weren't doing what this podcast was about. They never prioritized it. And as such, there's a segment of the way in which they were running their business that's going to run dry. So you got to stay ahead. That's the name of the game in any business, not just real estate.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And that's why I'm really excited to be working with you and working
Likewise.
with the YLOPO community, because even though we have a little bit of different services, different approaches, but we have the same mission to nurture and cultivate that database and to find ways to keep the relationship. You use technology and automation, but still lead with the relationship. And that's such an important mission in today's industry, or today's world and in our industry. And I 100%, I believe that people are going to wake up and they're going to be left. They're going to feel left behind if they're not doing what you're recommending. They're going to just be like, what happened? Why did all these other teams have so much leverage and there's so many good things happening? What am I doing? Like, I'm still cold calling, 5 hours a day. Like, so like, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying we don't have to prospect. We don't have to follow up. That's part of the formula, but there's more to it than that. So
totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. People just need to pay attention to this podcast. They'll be all right.
Yeah, that's right. So Barry, any final thoughts you want to leave us as we wrap up the podcast?
whenever I'm listening to something like this, if I stay where I'm actually watching it,
Yeah.
I normally get sidetracked on thinking, wow, that's amazing, or geez, that's really cool, or they're really smart, or whatever. Isaiah's got great hair. Like there's just all kinds of things that they're probably distracted by. The thing I'll say is, just if you were, in my opinion, if you were to distill this podcast into some actionable takeaways, there's a few ways you can get a lot of names of people that you have some kind of relationship with. There's a way to organize them in a way that makes sense for you. And then there's a way to talk to all of them or market to all of them through different media channels. And instead of being overwhelmed, just start with collecting everybody and putting them into one place. If you'll focus on that, the rest of the stuff kind of starts to piece together on its own.
Yeah, I agree with that. And get involved in the YLOPO community. Get involved in the REN community, because we're going to help you speed up that process. So that way you don't have to figure it all on your own. And you have amazing talent there that have spent millions and millions of dollars figuring these things out.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to make the same mistakes. And that's part of our passion, right? Is like, I don't want to speak for you, Barry, but like part of my passion is like, I never wanted to have somebody go through this again on my team, or that I went through to try to figure it all out, or like if I can help people figure out this roadmap so they don't have to piece it all together, what an awesome impact that can have on their life and their family, So,
well, and look, real estate's such a guru culture. Like everybody is wanting to like learn from like, and I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, so I'm trying not to be a hypocrite here, but like I think sometimes we see these people and we really don't recognize what's going on behind the scenes to get the job done.
Right.
And I know for me, I want to empower all of the agents across the country that are looking at the top performer on the other side of the room and thinking they're lucky and wishing, like, I wish I could do that. I don't have the same, like, there is actually a formula. Like, this isn't, some get it, some don't. Like, there's actually a way to do this to where you don't have to just wish you were more popular to have a successful business. That's why I gravitated to online lead gen, because honestly, having a big party with my past clients, the thought of that stresses me out. Like, I don't want to do it. And I'm not proud of that, but that's just me. Digital marketing lets me do that.
That's right. That's awesome. I love it. I think that's a great place to end. I think we could talk about a lot of other things, but that's so powerful, is that I believe that's really, really empowering, is that there's nothing special about that successful person. They found a system, they had the right mindset, they followed that system, they got involved in the right people, and they took massive action.
Right.
And that's it, Barry. Thank you so much. If you want to check out Barry's book, where do you go again to check out your book? TwoNiceForSales.com. TwoNiceForSales.com.
Yep.
Get his book, and he does a really good job laying this out even in more detail. And there's some
check out YLOPO. Excited about their in-person event coming up.
Yeah, we're going to be at your event. We're excited. So
yeah, you're going to be there.
April 4th.
Yeah. No, that's going to be really great. April 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yep.
Awesome.
All
right.
right.
We're going to go ahead and cut it off there. And we hope you guys have an awesome day. You got a lot out of this podcast. And we'll
check out realestatenexus.io.
Yeah, that too.